Hello bookworms, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Stacy, and today's video is going to be my April wrap-up. So basically all the books that I read for the month of April. And I have to tell you, I had an absolutely amazing month. Not necessarily in the number of books I read, but the fact that all the books I read were either 4 or 5 stars. So compared to the books that I read in March, I think I did amazing this month. So these books are in no particular order. So one of the books I read this month is called Wish, and this is actually a middle grade novel. Charlie, our main character, is forced to go live with her aunt and uncle since her parents could no longer take care of her. When she gets there, she feels very abandoned and lost, and all she wants to do is return back home. With the help from her aunt and uncle, her new friend, and her pet dog, Charlie is finally able to find her place in life. Now, if I could only use one word to describe this book, it would be heartwarming. I thought it was beautifully written, and it teaches the true meaning of both family and friendship. In this book, I absolutely adored the characters of the aunt and uncle. They were both very kind, very understanding, and they will hold a special place in my heart. I ended up giving this book 5 stars, and I definitely recommend it. Also in the month of April, I read Chasing Forgiveness, and this is by Neil Shusterman. And in this story, we follow our main character, Preston, who at the age of 12 has discovered that his father has killed his mother. Fast forward 2 years, and his father is finally released from prison. So this book is just basically about Preston learning to come to terms with what happened and trying to decide whether or not he can forgive his father for what he has done. Now, I didn't realize until I was done reading this book, but it's actually based on a true story. Now, I did find this story to be very plain and simple. I would have actually liked to have heard more in depth about how Preston was feeling, just going through this whole process of, just learning about his father killing his mother, about his father going to prison, and just his thoughts about when his father is released, and really how he feels when he comes home. Now, it does talk about his feelings a bit, but I would have liked to have dug just a little bit deeper into actually how he felt. I think me being in that position, I honestly don't know how I would have dealt with it. So I think hearing a little bit more about his thought process and just dug a little bit deeper into how he felt, and I think this story would have been a lot better. I do feel that this book does teach an important message about forgiveness and actually why we need to forgive people, and not necessarily for the other person, but it benefits yourself. Now, I had a really hard time reading this book just because it was based on a true story, but I am going to give it 4 stars, and that's just simply because I would have liked to have known more in detail, more depth of Preston's feelings. Okay, and the next book I have is called The Wicked Deep. I'm sure pretty much all of you have heard about this book, so I won't go into too much detail on what it's about. 200 years ago, 3 women were drowned because they were accused of being witches. As revenge, these 3 sisters every year will possess the bodies of 3 young girls, and then they will lure boys into the water, drowning them. I have to say, I absolutely love this book. It's definitely one of my favorite reads so far this year. I really enjoyed the flow and the pace of this novel, and it had me intrigued right from the very beginning. I did find it to be a very different and unique story, which is probably why I enjoyed it so much. I think the author did an amazing job of making it seem very eerie and creepy. I definitely can't wait to read more by this author. I'm giving this book 5 stars. And next, I'd like to get into the books that I read for my birthday reading project. And if you're not familiar with that, I will leave the link in the description box below, and you can go check it out. And one of the first books I read is called A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. And in this book, we follow a young boy by the name of Connor, and he's actually going through a really rough time in his life. His mother is ill, his father is not being a good parent, he's being bullied at school, and to make matters worse, there's a monster that keeps appearing. Now, the only thing this monster wants from Connor is the truth. This is a very heavy-hearted story that was beautifully written. that left me absolutely broken, and it made me cry. And to be honest, there's not a lot of books out there that have made me cry. And I got to a point where I didn't want to read the end because I knew it was going to be upsetting. I knew it was going to make me cry. And it was just so much easier not to deal with that. But I did push through. I'm glad I did. I think anybody who has had a family member or even a friend who has been very ill like this can definitely relate to this book. So I definitely consider it a book for everyone. It's definitely going to be a story that stays with me for a very long time. I ended up giving this book 5 stars. And the next book I read is called Among the Lemon Trees. Now, I got this as an ebook, so I don't have a physical copy to show you, but I'll try and stick a picture up here. Anyways, in this book, we follow our main character, Anna, who has just discovered that her husband has been unfaithful to her. Upon hearing this news, Anna is very hurt and confused. So she decides to take a trip with her father to his birthplace, which is in the Greek islands. And while Anna is there with her father, she discovers a lot of long-lost family secrets. The one thing I liked about this book is that it alternates between the present and the past. I like it when books do that. I think it adds more interest. It usually holds my attention more. Now, I did feel that this book started off slow, and there was actually a couple times where I actually considered whether or not to finish it. But I did push through, and I'm glad I did. Once I started to get into more about what the family secrets were, it sucked me in, and I had a hard time putting the book down. I thought the family secrets were mind-blowing. Maybe a little bit unrealistic, but I ended up still enjoying the book regardless. I definitely feel like this is an underhyped book. To be honest, I've never heard of it before. If it wasn't for the birthday reading project, I would never have known about this book. Yeah, so I think it's underhyped, and to be honest, I definitely think it needs more recognition. So I definitely recommend picking up this book and giving it a try. If you do decide to pick it up, just know, like I said before, that it is slow in the beginning, but once you get into it, it just takes off. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. And the next book I have is Whistling Past the Graveyard. In the summer of 1963, 9-year-old Starla decides to run away from her home in Mississippi, where she lives with her grandmother. Starla's destination is Nashville, where her mother lives. And one day when she's walking down this lonely country road, Starla accepts a ride from a black woman by the name of Eula, who is traveling alone with a white baby. Eula offers to take Starla all the way to Nashville, and so their adventures begin there. Now, this book had me intrigued right from the very beginning. It's one of those books that you pick up and you can't put down. You have to know what happens next. I liked how it was told through the point of view of a very naive 9-year-old girl. I also really enjoyed seeing the friendship between Starla and Eula develop. I definitely think after Starla has spent some time with Eula, she gets more of an understanding on how life is different for black people compared to what it's like for white people. With that being said, I also think the author did an amazing job of describing racism in that time era. Now, I did start off actually reading this book as an ebook. I got about a quarter of the way in and was enjoying it so much that I actually wanted to pick up a copy of my own. It's definitely one of those books that I would like to add to my collection. I also feel that if you're someone who is a fan of the book The Help, you'll probably enjoy this book too. I ended up giving this book 5 stars. Okay, now I did have one more book for my birthday reading project that I didn't get to. I have just started it today, and that's called Steelheart. I could probably still finish reading this book before the end of the month. I'm filming this on Sunday, so I have Sunday and Monday to finish it. But I won't have it done in time, obviously, to do this video. So I'm actually going to give you my thoughts and feelings on it in May's wrap-up. Okay, so that's everything I have to show you today. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more from me, please hit that subscribe button. Until next time, happy reading. Bye!